Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at one of the newest games from Board and Dice called Windmill Valley. And I've decided that I'm no longer going to call these the T games since it doesn't start with a T.
That's a bold move, Tom.
Well, Board and Dice made a lot of games. Teotihuacan,
Tawantinsuyu, Trismegistus,
they all started with
one.
T, so we call them T. But for the last several years, they've stopped doing that. This is clearly in that line, but it's just Euro-style games. And so that's, so can't call them that. I'm just going to call them Board and Dice's heavy Euros, maybe. I don't know.
Catchy.
You know what surprised? Well, I guess we'll get to it in a second. After you do the overview?
Yeah, okay. Well, let's do the overview, and then we'll be back. There's a lot going on in this game, and I'm not going to go over every detail, but I'll just give you enough to kind of give you an idea how it works. At the beginning of a player's turn, they're going to decide whether to close or open the floodgate. Closing it's no problem, but opening the floodgate will cost you money but give you victory points. You're going to keep track of the amount of water that's coming through the floodgate down here, and if it's all the way to the top, then you're going to be forced to close the floodgate. The reason that you're opening and closing the floodgate is it's going to tell you how many times you're going to turn your wheels. This is the main function of the game. Each player is going to have these cogs in front of them, and each turn you're going to turn them at least once. And after you turn it, you'll turn it so the red thing meets here. You can pick this action or this action. And as the game goes by, you're going to have ways to upgrade these actions. You also can spend tools to move less or farther as you're moving. And once this red thing comes all the way around, players are going to have a chance to score, and that's one of the things that will start triggering the end of the game as players go by and use these. But you'll notice that they also don't meet up. So while, for example, these two actions are together, if I spin it around again, you'll see there's a different action because there's 5 over here and 6 over here. And like I said, you can change the actions to whatever you want. That's one of the actions is upgrading your action wheel. This is where players are going to be keeping track of their points and their tulips over the course of the game. There are 5 different color tulips, and they have different rarities to them. But as you collect tulips, you'll put them down here, but you're eventually going to be planting tulips. And what you want to do is you want to fill entire rows with the same color if possible, because that will get you more points. Filling them at all gets you points. But at the same time in the same column, if you have 2 that are the same color in the same column, you can lose points. But if they're all different, you will gain points. And also, as you are filling in these tulips, let's say I add a white tulip here, another white here, you'll start getting some bonus actions or bonus resources as you fill them on. Finally, or not finally, but you're going to have a chance to put windmills out on the board, and as you put windmills out, you can pull them from anywhere, and when a whole group is gone, you're also going to get points for every tulip you have of that color. This one says 1 for every white one. Well, great. Now I'm going to get 3 points. Here I get 2 for every light purple one. Well, I better start getting some of those to get my points up. Players are also going to be getting contracts, and you'll get points at the end of the game for how well you fulfilled them. That's the bottom part of this card. Like I said, there's a lot of different actions on the wheels. One of the actions that you can take is upgrading, and you can upgrade one of the sections of your action wheel, although these, which are better, have a higher cost. You can also take these cards here. If you take the top of it, when you take a card, you're going to decide whether to tuck it under the top of your board to get a special ability, or if you'll tuck it on the bottom of your board to get a contract that will give you points at the end of the game. You also have a chance to do foreign trade over here. You'll put a tulip on this, and then you will take the 2 actions that it shows on each side. So maybe I want 3 points and 2 tulips of any color. I'll put it there. Or you can take all the tulips that are on the card and keep them. The other 2 actions revolve around this board. One is the market, where you'll be moving around the market, and you have a chance to both grow and to plant tulips. This lets you grow these tulips and plant these tulips, depending on the number of discs that are at a spot. And you also have a chance to put out your windmills. There's starting spots for windmills. Some of them cost money. And as you put them out, you're also going to get the benefits. Like this gives you a yellow tulip and a purple tulip. But if I go down here, once I build this one, I can go farther down. I have to start here, then go here, then here. You'll see there's 3 bonuses. And if you build your windmills off of someone else's windmill that's already on the board, they get some bonuses from that. And again, remember, putting windmills out and emptying out these sections here will give you more points per tulip at the end of the game. As players move their wheel around completely, you're going to be getting bonuses here, depending on the faster you move the wheel, the better bonuses, but you'll have fewer actions than the other players. And that's one of the things that will trigger the end of the game. And I already mentioned you'll be getting a lot of points during the game, but you're also going to be getting some for the tulips that you have, windmills on the board, and various contracts that you have. Player with the most points is the winner. All right, what surprised you?
Okay, what surprised me is this wasn't as heavy as some of the recent ones, especially because Nucleum was really heavy, I felt like. And then Barcelona still had a lot to it. This one I felt like, oh, this is much more mid-weight instead of that mid-heavyweight.
Yeah, the rules teach, when I was kind of going through it, I thought, oh, and I'm done teaching now. You know, here's the actions. You do, it says, it breaks down into 4 steps per turn, and the first 2 of them are the water level thing, which is basically 1 step. And then you do your action, and then the end of your turn. So like, oh, okay, this is more approachable than, far more approachable. You seem incredulous here.
Well, I'm hesitant because, again, the general audience calling these a mid game. I think there's a lot going on in this game. I agree that it's easy to do.
Easier than Trismegistus and Tuantansu.
They're all easier than Trismegistus, but yes. So I do have a couple issues. I want to start out by saying I like the game, but I want to get these issues out of the way. And so first of all, components. I like the little tulips. I think I would have preferred wooden tulips, maybe.
Maybe they're good, thick cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with them.
But it's not a huge deal. I love the wheels, and the wheels work well. Mm-hmm. When they're put, these things are always a pain to put together and everything, but these worked well.
Except that everyone in the game wants to sit and play with them, and you need to leave them.
You need to leave them where they're at.
Yeah.
But I have a huge issue with components, and I think it affects gameplay, and that is the lack of a player aid. In this game, I think it's pretty critical because I, for the life of me, don't know what any of those characters do. And looking them up is a real pain in the neck because in the book, they're listed by the name of that character, which is not on the card.
Yeah.
How is that helpful to me? I don't know who the baker is. Well, that one might be a little easier because you might see a guy with bread. But seriously.
No, it's kind of the issue I have with some of the Castles of Burgundy game lines. I think the main Castles of Burgundy numbered their special abilities so that you could look them up by number. But I think it was like the card game where they had a bunch of abilities on cards and you had to look it up by the picture, which I thought is a terrible idea. And that is the same thing that happens. You have to look up for the picture of the card.
And you have to look those up because you're not going to use them all every game and everything. I just found that to be a pain in the neck, component-wise. The other thing that I found to be a bit of a pain in the neck is once you get going, it makes sense. But the whole water level thing is it feels more convoluted than it needs to be, teaching and playing to the point where design-wise, I'm like, why is this even in the game? Why do I care? I get it. You lower the water level, you get points. You raise the water level, your wheel moves faster. I know there's thematic reasons for it. In game-wise, I'm like, okay, do I want to raise it 1 or 2 levels? Oh, wait, I can't even raise it these levels because it's already up here. Okay, so then it just feels... I didn't enjoy that part of the game, the water level.
It's one that I often just skipped and just was like, if it's there at 3, I'll use the 3, maybe. But half the time, you have someone that wants to move 3, and they spend all that money, and they get those points to move 3. And the very next person is like, yeah, but I only wanted to move 1 because I was planning on that. And so it's back down to 1. And the person after that wants to move 2. And so it feels like they already had the tool token, kind of like what you're saying. Like, why is it in the game? Why didn't we just use
the tool tokens are fine, right? Just have ways to get tool tokens, and that's how far my wheel moves.
Right, or choose 1, 2, or 3. Yeah, I think that's my least favorite part because most of the time people move 1, and then sometimes people are like, ooh, I really want to move 3. And it's not at that point like everyone at the table goes, woo! Oh, no. Yeah, like when you said most of the time it gets bumped down right afterwards. And so even if I want to go 3 and 2 people go before me bumps it up to 3, I'm not sitting there celebrating. Plus I get points if I pay for it going back up. So it doesn't – there's no that's like the closest part in this game to interaction. I think that's one of my other slights about it is that I think that Danny Garcia's other designs, because I really like what he did with Arborea, I really like what he did in Barcelona, both of those have more, even if not like huge moments of interaction, they have good moments of interaction where, depending on what someone else does, I can benefit from that on my turn. Or, oh, you produce these resources, yes, and they're available for me, that type of stuff. And in this one, it's not there. The water level's the closest part, but it doesn't really affect me.
And then the windmills,
I was going to say the windmills.
Yeah, as you place out the windmills, the person previously in the path gets points.
It's true.
But it is slight. It is slight, which I don't mind that at all.
Sure. And so the water level's a pain in the neck, but I will say the rest of the actions are all easy and I also think very interesting. Like the foreign trade one, I think about that all the time. I'm like, oh, I want 2 actions on that thing. Or do I want all the tulips on the card? It's an interesting and it's a cool thing. The card does get replaced if you fill it up completely, but that very rarely happens because someone's going to take the tulips likely. I just find that to be interesting. I love upgrading the wheel to a fault probably. I probably will lose games because I upgraded every space on my wheel.
Did you do anything cohesive with it? I upgraded every space.
Well, there are some actions that let you take that action and the action on the other side of the wheel. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to just combo these up. So every turn I'm getting 2 actions.
What's interesting is the wheel can be powerful in its upgrading, but I find that the actual player power cards that you tuck at the top of your board, I find that those combo even stronger. And so even though they look like the same level of improvement, if you get caught just doing the gears, I don't think that you can win if you're not getting synergized upgrades on the
I don't believe I said I won. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm saying
I don't believe you can have fun, Tom.
No, but I do like. But see, that's the thing about the game
gears
is
are fun.
It goes very asymmetrical. I have those people at the top. Mm-hmm. I have the cards at the bottom. Those are my goals I'm going for. I've upgraded my wheel to a way no one else is going to. No one's wheels are going to be the same, even remotely. And even the windmills, I put my windmills out in different spots. I felt like, you said interaction, it's not maybe there, but I look at everyone else, I'm like, I'm doing this. And I do care about other players because I care how fast you're moving in the game.
That's true. I guess that's actually the strongest point of interaction is that timer track. If someone keeps moving ahead, you're like, ooh, I don't want to get left behind. I don't want to get stuck with no bonus. That's especially strong in a 2-player game. If the difference between getting a bonus and not getting that one is it's small, but it rolls into that person getting more benefits. So I guess that's true. That part does matter.
I think what's interesting in this game is that every time that I've seen it played or I've heard Chris play it and all those kind of things, there always seems to be one person that just has this extreme lead. And I was wondering if you experienced that, Tom, when you played.
It's hard to tell with leads because, you mean after all points are done?
I'm talking about, like completely lapping everybody else at the table.
Yeah,
No.
at game end.
I don't remember completely lapping.
You weren't doing it, that's for sure.
I know I beat Jason Levine at this game, so there's that.
Wow, the flower machine. That's what we'll call you.
The game already has an instant +1 to its
There's
score.
a lot of different ways to score. It's very point salady. So I don't know. I didn't find it to be an issue or something I cared about. I just like getting a lot of points. And there were so many ways to get points. I was thinking, how am I going to do it?
Okay.
I mean,
I
the
definitely
most basic way is fill that whole grid in. Mm-hmm. All 4 lines, 4 different colors.
Yeah.
I mean, you blow points out of the water.
Well, I just saw a lot of with multiple games that we played where if you have an action, that action triggers another action, and that action you get points every time that you do it. And some of these turns have turned into huge long turns, whereas in general the game is not. It does not have long turns. And so when you've got multiple gears that trigger other things that trigger, there's tons of points. You just watch someone moving up on the track and you're like, there's nothing I can do to stop them.
Yeah, I've found in my games that I've played and taught at conventions and stuff, and it's not even the most experienced player, but there seems to be someone who just finds the right combo of upgrades to slot at the top. Mm-hmm. And once they have that combo, there's not really a way to slow that person down. And I know that's...
Okay, that makes sense.
You could argue many Euro games, many multiplayer-ish solitaire games are like that. But this one felt a bit pronounced to me. Not to the point of me hating the game or disliking the game. I actually have a ton of fun playing it. It's a lot of fun. I love that the actions are simple enough, and when you do get things to combo, it feels really good. It is a little deflating to see someone else combo a bunch more than you, and you're like, oh, this turn I'm getting 2 money and 3 points. Your turn. But one could argue, get better at the game, Chris.
Yeah, and everybody has those turns.
Get good.
So I think that, like you guys had said, the actions are they're simple, they're easy to understand, other than needing to look up every card in the player aid. I really enjoy that rondelle in the middle of getting the flowers and planting the flowers, not burying them, but I really enjoy that because you're moving these brown discs around and you're trying to have it set up just right, that you have the correct flowers so that you can plant them, so that you can fill up that board, and you want diversity on your board. So I just think that there's some really cool stuff going on there, and I enjoy that circle of trying to align it so that you get the proper amount of actions that you need.
What would you rate the game?
For me, this is one that I enjoyed. I had a few hang-ups, and it sounds like maybe we've talked more of the criticisms than necessarily kind of singing its praises. So score-wise, I'm coming down at an 8. And part of that is because the general flow of the game is so quick. The general flow of the game is very fun. It lets you upgrade in many different areas. You can get really exciting end game bonuses along the bottom of your board when you tuck those cards. There's such an economy, or there's an efficiency of the use of resources and stuff. There's very few. There's the flowers, there's the tulips to bury, and there's a coin track. So you're not sitting there with a ton of resources to manage, and you're not doing any like fiddly things. So many of the actions are free. Get an upgrade on your wheel. 2 of your options are free, or 1 coin or 2 coins. That speaks to me as a very efficient design that still makes you go, ooh, I don't know if I can spend that 1 coin because then I can't do this other part when my combo happens and stuff. So it is, with a little, giving you a lot, and it fits right in with the board and dice line of games like this, even though it is simpler and a little bit breezier most of the time. It's impressive, and I have fun with it, despite those hangups that we've mentioned. It's an 8 from me.
Okay, it's also an 8 for me, and I assumed your number was lower, Chris. I very much enjoy this. I think that this is a fun game. Like you said, there's those few hangups. So it's not quite that 8.5 that it would give it the seal of excellence, but it is still an approval game for me. I think that it's fun, that there are various strategies you can lean into. You can straight up just say, hey, I never want to go to the shipping dock. Never want to do that. I'm going to cover up that space with other upgrades, and I'm going to focus all in on putting out windmills, or all in on, something else, getting more upgrades. And I think that it's very cool that the double-used cards, you can slot them at the top for abilities, or you can put them on the bottom for endgame points. I think there's really clever things going on in this game, and I think that it's a lot of fun.
I'm also an 8. No, I really like the game.
Collusion!
No, I like I said, I had a problem with the player aid and the water thing, but the fact is the game is so fun. You mentioned who won. I don't remember actually who wins games necessarily. I mean, I remember when I beat Jason, but because the game is fun to play. And for me, that trumps a lot of times how close the scores were and all that, because I liked it. I'm a big fan of gears that actually turn. So, like...
That's a pointed remark.
It's Zulkin. No, but what I mean is you spin the gear, and so the gear actually is very similar in my mind to Mancala a little bit, when you have your own little Mancala thing you're moving. Mm-hmm. This has a similar feeling. So on your turn, I'm usually ignoring you, sitting there thinking, do I want to move it 1 or 2? Maybe 3. I don't know. What do I want to do? It's just interesting to me that if I take this action, and then there's the combo-esque things, like if I go there, I'll do that windmill, which gives me that, and I can do this then. I like that aspect. There's never a bad turn. Maybe lowering the water is not great.
Unless you have no money and a turn requires money.
Yeah, I guess there's that, but
I've had a bad turn, but that was a particularly rough game for me.
I guess, but I mean, it just feels like there's lots of good choices to make. Like, this is my turn to do the tulips. This is my turn to do the windmills. This is my turn to upgrade my wheel. And by the way, if you upgrade your wheel with more upgrades, and then after a while it gets to a vicious cycle, you're like, it's time to upgrade. I'm already done. So don't do that.
Well, you can, but that was something Wendy said. You can lean into having multiple of the same action in a row, and you're like, I'm going to be the king of the windmills. And it's cool that the game gives you that flexibility to do whatever you want with it, and that's part of why I find the game so fun.
Yeah, you can't do everything, and I like games like that.
Right.
Do a
right.
lot of it, but not everything. So there you go, folks. That is Windmill Valley, the newest game from Board and Dice. To me, they seem to be on a roll these days with these games. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Stay Tulip.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.